August 16, 1966, an Iraqi MiG-21 suddenly appears on Israeli radar, escorted by two Mirage fighters. Within minutes, the Soviet Union's most protected military secret lands on enemy soil. This is the story of Operation Diamond. The Middle East, early 1960s. The Mikoyan Gorevich MiG-21 enters service across Egypt, Syria, and Iraq, fundamentally altering the regional balance of power. This Soviet-built supersonic interceptor represents the cutting edge of Cold War aviation technology. Capable of reaching Mach 2 and armed with advanced air-to-air missiles, the aircraft outperforms nearly everything in the Israeli Air Force arsenal. Soviet advisors supervise every aspect of MiG-21 operations, implementing security protocols unprecedented in the region. The aircraft is never left unguarded. Pilots undergo extensive loyalty screening. Soviet technicians control all maintenance procedures, preventing local personnel from understanding the aircraft's most sensitive systems. In March 1963, Meir Amit assumes leadership of the Mossad, Israel's foreign intelligence service. During consultations with military commanders, Israeli Air Force Chief Mordecai Hod presents what seems like an impossible request: acquire a functional MiG-21. The strategic importance is clear. Without understanding this aircraft's capabilities and limitations, Israeli pilots face a potentially insurmountable disadvantage in any future conflict. The first operation targets Egypt. Mossad agent John Thomas approaches Egyptian pilot Adib Hanna with an offer of $1 million to fly his MiG-21 to Israel. The plan fails catastrophically. Hanna immediately reports the contact to Egyptian authorities. Thomas and 5 associates are arrested in 1962. 3 of them, including Thomas, are executed by hanging in December. The message to Israeli intelligence is unmistakable. The Soviets and their Arab allies will protect the MiG-21 at any cost. A second attempt in Iraq ends with 2 Iraqi pilots being approached by Mossad operatives. When negotiations fail, both pilots die under suspicious circumstances. One is reportedly thrown from a moving train during medical treatment in Germany in February 1966. The pattern suggests desperation within Israeli intelligence circles. 3 years into the operation, they have nothing to show except casualties and compromised agents. The MiG-21 continues flying combat missions, its secrets intact. Soviet confidence in their security measures appears justified. 1964. An Iraqi-born Jew named Yusuf, working in Tehran, contacts Israeli officials with information about a potential asset. Since age 10, Yusuf has served as household staff for a Maronite Christian family in Iraq. Through this connection, he knows of Captain Munir Redfa, an Iraqi Air Force pilot married to his girlfriend's sister. Redfa's background immediately interests Mossad analysts. Born Munir Habib Jamil Rufa in 1934, he is an Assyrian Christian in a predominantly Muslim military. After the 1958 revolution led by Abdul Karim Qasim, Iraq increasingly aligns with the Soviet Union. The new regime trusts only 5 pilots to fly the MiG-21, and Redfa is among them, serving as deputy commander of the 11th Squadron at Habaniya Air Base, west of Baghdad. Initial intelligence reports reveal exploitable grievances. Redfa has been passed over for squadron command despite his qualifications. More significantly, he is troubled by orders to bomb Kurdish villages in northern Iraq. The Kurds, like the Assyrians, are a marginalized minority facing government persecution. As a Christian, Redfa is stationed far from his family in Baghdad and permitted to fly only with partially filled fuel tanks, a clear indication that his commanders harbor suspicions about his loyalty. A female Mossad agent, whose identity remains classified, establishes contact with Redfa. During their meetings, he expresses what the agent describes as a sneaking admiration for Israelis, as few against so many Muslims. This statement, whether genuine sentiment or tactical positioning, provides the psychological opening Israeli intelligence has been seeking for 3 years. The recruitment intensifies. Redfa travels to Europe for clandestine meetings with Israeli officials. Mossad chief Meir Amit personally observes one meeting through a concealed viewing port, assessing the Iraqi pilot's reliability. The offer presented to Redfa is comprehensive: $1 million, equivalent to approximately $8 million in 2025 currency. Israeli citizenship for his entire family, guaranteed lifetime employment. Redfa imposes one condition that complicates the operation exponentially. His entire extended family must be extracted from Iraq before he defects. This includes his wife Betty, their 2 children aged 3 and 5, his parents, and several other relatives. Any family member left behind will face immediate arrest and likely execution as leverage against Redfa. Israeli intelligence must now run a parallel operation, smuggling multiple Iraqi civilians out of the country while maintaining complete operational security. Redfa makes a secret visit to Israel, touring Hatzor Air Base, where he will eventually land. He meets with Major General Mordechai Hod, the Air Force commander, reviewing flight paths, fuel calculations, and contingencies. Israeli intelligence officers brief him on details about his own base that astonish him. They know the names of every Soviet advisor, the training flight schedules, and the precise locations of radar installations. The depth of Israeli intelligence penetration into Iraqi military facilities becomes apparent. Yet, despite this knowledge, acquiring the actual aircraft requires Redfa's cooperation. No amount of intelligence gathering can substitute for a pilot willing to fly the most protected fighter jet in the Arab world directly to enemy territory. Spring and summer 1966. While Redfa continues his duties at Habaniya Air Base, a complex exfiltration operation unfolds across Iraq and the Middle East. Mossad agents enter Iraq using various covers, coordinating movements that must appear entirely routine to Iraqi security services. The operation's success depends on absolute normalcy. Any suspicious activity will alert authorities, endangering not only the family members but the entire mission. Betty Redfa and the 2 young children are told they are taking a summer vacation to Paris. Redfa, who promised to prepare his wife for what was coming, tells her nothing. The decision to keep Betty uninformed is calculated. Iraqi intelligence monitors the families of military personnel. Any change in behavior might trigger surveillance. Betty must genuinely believe she is on vacation for the deception to work. In Paris, a Mossad agent approaches Betty with Israeli passports for herself and the children. The revelation shocks her completely. She threatens to contact the Iraqi embassy, unaware that doing so would result in her husband's immediate arrest and execution. The agent must convince her, in a matter of hours, that her husband has made this decision, that her family's future depends on her cooperation, and that returning to Iraq means certain death for everyone. The psychological pressure is immense. Betty eventually agrees, though accounts vary on whether this was willing cooperation or recognition of an impossible situation. She and the children are transferred to Israel, where they wait in isolation, their fate tied to an operation they cannot fully understand. If you're finding this story as gripping as we are, hit that subscribe button for narrated stories. We uncover the most incredible intelligence operations in history. The remaining family members face a more dangerous route. Mossad agents coordinate with Kurdish guerrilla fighters operating in northern Iraq. The Kurds, themselves targets of Iraqi government bombing campaigns that Redfa participated in, have their own reasons for assisting the operation. They provide guides and safe houses. Redfa's parents and other relatives are moved to the Iranian border. The journey covers difficult terrain, always with the risk of Iraqi military patrols. Kurdish fighters escort them across the border into Iran, where Mossad agents take custody and transport them to Israel. Each successful extraction reduces the risk to Redfa, but increases the complexity of maintaining secrecy. The Iraqi government, despite having an extensive internal security apparatus, detects nothing unusual. Multiple civilians connected to a MiG-21 pilot simply disappear from Iraq over several weeks, and no alarms are raised. Throughout this period, Redfa maintains his normal routine at Habbaniyah. He flies training missions, attends briefings with Soviet advisors, and interacts with fellow Iraqi pilots who have no idea that his wife and children are already in Israel. The psychological strain on Redfa must be extraordinary. Any slip in behavior, any indication of stress or unusual preoccupation could trigger questions. Iraqi intelligence, the Mukhabarat, is known for its brutality. Redfa understands that suspicion alone could be fatal. Yet he continues the performance, knowing that his family's safety and the success of an intelligence operation 3 years in the making rest entirely on his ability to appear completely normal while planning treason against his government.
Morning, Habbaniyah Air Base, west of Baghdad. Captain Munir Redfa prepares for what appears to be a routine navigation training flight. His MiG-21 F-13, Iraqi Air Force serial number 534, sits on the tarmac. The aircraft represents the first production version of the fish bed, equipped with a Tamansky R-11 F-300 turbojet engine generating 13,120 pounds of thrust. Soviet security protocols normally require MiG-21 pilots to fly with partially filled fuel tanks, limiting their range and preventing precisely what Redfa is about to attempt. Today, Redfa exploits a weakness in the Soviet system. He convinces Iraqi ground crew technicians to fill the tanks completely, playing on their resentment toward Russian advisors who treat them as incompetent. The technicians, eager to demonstrate their knowledge, comply with Redfa's request without consulting Soviet supervisors. This single breach in protocol makes the entire operation possible. Redfa takes off, initially following his assigned training route. Iraqi radar tracks him as expected. Over northern Jordan, he deviates from the planned flight path, turning west. The sudden course change alerts Jordanian air defense. Royal Jordanian Air Force Hawker Hunter fighters are scrambled to intercept. At this moment, the operation nearly fails. If Jordanian pilots intercept and force Redfa to land, or if they conclude he is hostile and shoot him down, 3 years of planning ends in disaster. Jordanian radar operators contact Syrian air defense, seeking identification of the unknown aircraft. Syrian controllers, whether through confusion, incompetence, or possible Israeli intelligence penetration, respond that the MiG-21 is conducting a Syrian training exercise. This false confirmation proves decisive. Jordanian air defense stands down, recalling the Hunter fighters. The MiG-21 continues west, now flying at approximately 30,000 feet beyond the effective altitude of Jordan's interceptors. Crossing into Israeli airspace, Redfa is met by 2 Israeli Air Force Dassault Mirage 3CJ fighters. He lowers his landing gear, the international signal of peaceful intentions. The Israeli pilots, who have been briefed on the operation for weeks, recognize the gesture immediately. They take positions on either side of the Iraqi MiG, escorting it toward Hatzor Air Base in central Israel. Israeli ground controllers have cleared all air traffic from the area. At Hatzor, military personnel and intelligence officers wait. The first visual confirmation comes when observers on the ground see 3 aircraft approaching, 2 familiar Mirages flanking an unmistakable Soviet-designed fighter, still bearing Iraqi Air Force markings and the Arabic serial number 534 on its nose. Redfa lands the MiG-21 at Hatzor. At a press conference held shortly after, he stated that he touched down on the last drop of fuel. Whether literally true or dramatic embellishment, the statement emphasizes the operation's extreme risk. Any significant deviation from the planned route, any delay caused by Jordanian interception, any miscalculation in fuel consumption would have resulted in the aircraft crashing before reaching Israel. The margin for error was essentially zero. Within hours, the world's media reports the defection. Iraq immediately declares Redfa a traitor and demands the aircraft's return. The Soviet Union, humiliated by the security breach, issues similar demands. Israel's response is both defiant and theatrical. They paint 007 on the MiG's fuselage, a reference to James Bond that mocks Soviet intelligence services. The message is clear. Israel has just pulled off an operation that the KGB, Soviet military, and Iraqi security services failed to prevent despite years of warnings and 3 previous attempts.
Israeli Air Force engineers and intelligence analysts immediately begin comprehensive evaluation of the captured MiG-21. Danny Shapira, an Israeli test pilot, flies the aircraft within weeks of its arrival. The evaluation reveals both strengths and critical weaknesses. The MiG-21 excels at high-altitude interception. Its rate of climb is exceptional. In level flight, its maximum speed of Mach 2 makes it one of the fastest operational fighters in the world. However, Israeli pilots discover significant limitations. The aircraft is underpowered in sustained maneuvering combat. Its avionics and radar systems, while advanced by mid-1960s standards, have exploitable vulnerabilities. Most importantly, the MiG-21's success depends heavily on pilot skill and tactics. Israeli Air Force tacticians develop specific countermeasures. They train pilots in engagement profiles that force MiG-21s into situations where their weaknesses become decisive. The aircraft is painted with distinctive red stripes to prevent friendly fire incidents and is designated tail number 201 for Israeli service. The intelligence windfall extends beyond tactical flying characteristics. Redfa delivers not only the aircraft, but training manuals and technical documentation. Israeli engineers disassemble systems, photograph components, and analyze materials. Every piece of information is cataloged. The knowledge proves its value remarkably quickly. On April 7, 1967, just 8 months after Redfa's defection, Israeli and Syrian aircraft engage in aerial combat over the Golan Heights. Israeli Mirage 3 fighters encounter Syrian MiG-21s in what becomes the largest air battle in the region since the 1956 Suez Crisis. The engagement's outcome is decisive. 6 Syrian MiG-21s are destroyed. Israel loses no aircraft. CIA Director Richard Helms later states that Israel demonstrated it had made excellent use of the captured MiG-21, directly connecting the intelligence gained from Operation Diamond to the lopsided combat results. 2 months later, the Six-Day War begins. Israeli Air Force doctrine, informed by extensive analysis of the MiG-21, contributes to one of the most overwhelming air victories in military history. Egypt, Syria, and Jordan lose the majority of their air forces, much of it destroyed on the ground in the war's opening hours. Israeli pilots trained specifically to counter MiG-21 tactics dominate the air. While many factors contribute to this success, the tactical knowledge gained from Redfa's aircraft plays a documented role. The strategic implications extend beyond Israel's immediate conflicts.
In January 1968, Israel loans the MiG-21 to the United States. American analysts evaluate the aircraft under a classified program designated Have Donut, conducted at Area 51 in Nevada. The MiG-21 is redesignated YF-110 in U.S. service. American pilots fly the aircraft against F-4 Phantoms and other U.S. fighters, developing tactics for potential confrontations with Soviet-supplied air forces. The intelligence sharing strengthens U.S.-Israeli security relations. The transfer of the MiG-21 directly influences American willingness to provide Israel with F-4 Phantom fighters, which the United States had previously been reluctant to sell. The MiG-21 is eventually returned to Israel and now resides in the Israeli Air Force Museum at Hatzerim Air Base, displayed as tail number 007. For the Soviet Union and the KGB, Operation Diamond represents a catastrophic intelligence failure. Despite implementing what they believed were foolproof security measures, a pilot successfully stole their most advanced fighter aircraft and delivered it to their Cold War adversaries. The incident forces a comprehensive review of Soviet security protocols throughout the Middle East. Soviet advisors' relationships with Arab military personnel are scrutinized. The failure's impact on Soviet prestige in the region cannot be overstated. What do you think was the most critical factor in Operation Diamond's success? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Cold War intelligence operations, subscribe to Narrated Stories for more meticulously researched historical documentaries. Our next video reveals another operation that changed the course of modern history.